The Porsche 911 is known as the car that doesn't lose value, and the GTS is the best street version of the 911 that you can buy. But for the past few years, Porsche fans have been so enamored with cars like the GT3, the GT3 RS, the 911 Dakar, the 911 Club Sport, and the 911 ST that many have forgotten about the 911 GTS. And this has caused the car that isn't supposed to lose any value to lose a lot of value. In case you're not familiar with what makes the GTS trim so special, it's like a greatest hits of 911 performance features offered at a very discounted price. With the GTS package, you get an extremely long list of performance upgrades including Porsche Active Suspension Management, Porsche Dynamic Chassis Control, larger and more powerful brakes, the Sport Chrono Package, the Sport Exhaust System, dynamic engine mounts, Porsche torque vectoring, plus a roughly 30 horsepower increase. And there's plenty of visual upgrades too, including a unique front fascia, wider rear bodywork, an updated decklid grille, LED headlights with Porsche Dynamic Light System, black badging and trim details, and center lock forged aluminum wheels. Even more GTS modifications can be found in the interior, including a GT steering wheel, black dashboard trim, aluminum inserts with a brushed black anodized finish on the center console and door panels, Alcantara covered seat centers, steering wheel, armrests, storage compartment lid and gear lever, and the headrests and tachometer are adorned with GTS logos. Porsche created the GTS trim to slot between the 911S and the GT3. So naturally, a lot of people cross-shop the GTS with the GT3. But what are the actual differences? The GT3 is a track car and the GTS is a street car. So if you're racing your car, the GT3 is going to have more advantages. But if you're driving your car on the street, the GTS is going to have more advantages, such as a quieter cabin, more comfort, back seats, and better gas mileage. But most importantly, the GTS is much more understated, which may not be what every sports car owner is looking for. But when you drive a 911 GTS, that GTS badge tells other Porsche enthusiasts you desire performance, not attention. And that's a pretty strong statement. Oh, and real quick, if you're enjoying this video, or you just like learning about Porsches, click here to subscribe. But there is one more thing that should make the GTS more desirable than the GT3, and that is rarity. Right now on AutoTrader, there's a combined total of 424 GT3s for sale, but just 256 GTSs. And on Car Gurus, there's a combined total of 387 GT3s for sale, but just 187 GTSs. And just to drive the point home, at the time of shooting this video, there is a grand total of 0 911 GTSs available on Bring a Trailer. So while we tend to think of the GT3 as a rare car, the 911 GTS is significantly more rare. To date, there are 4 generations of the 911 GTS, and a 5th will be debuting in just a few months. The first 911 GTS appeared in 2011 as a 997.2 model, and it was available in coupe and cabriolet versions. The 997.2 is an extremely well-built and essentially bulletproof car. And while these might be 13 years old, they drive just as good as many of the sports cars that are made today. And many Porsche fans actually prefer the driving experience of the 997 over more modern 911s. The performance figures for the 997.2 GTS are 402 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds, and a top speed of 196 miles per hour. When these cars were new, people were typically paying between $125,000 and $135,000 out the door, but today they can be had for as little as $70,000. That's almost half of what they sold for new. Today's video about the 911 GTS is sponsored by Arc Driver Automotive Prints. These unique Porsche art prints are a great way to improve the aesthetics in any room in your house, and a great way to help support this channel. They feature museum quality printing on heavy duty paper that has a partly glossy and partly matte finish. You can check out the entire collection by clicking on the link in the description below. The 911 GTS returned in 2015 as a 991.1 model, and this time it was available in coupe, cabriolet, and targa versions. This would also be the last naturally aspirated 911 GTS Porsche produced. The performance figures are 430 horsepower, 325 foot-pounds of torque, 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds, and a top speed of 190 miles per hour. When these cars were new, people typically paid between $125,000 and $145,000 out the door, but today they can be had for as little as $90,000. The 991.2 Carrera GTS was introduced in 2017, and it was available in coupe, cabriolet, and targa versions, and in my opinion, this is the best looking 911 GTS ever made. The performance figures are 450 horsepower, 405 foot-pounds of torque, 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds, and a top speed of 192 miles per hour. When these cars were new, people were typically paying between $135,000 and $155,000 out the door, but today they can be had for less than $110,000. The 992 Carrera GTS is the current model and was introduced back in 2022. The performance figures are 473 horsepower, 420 foot-pounds of torque, a 0 to 60 time of 3.2 seconds, and a top speed of 193 miles per hour. Now when it comes to values, the current GTS is in a bit of a different situation than the previous 3 generations. First off, it's still the current model, so there's been less opportunity for depreciation, but also, new 911 GTSs have become extremely difficult to come by, and because of this, many of the people buying them are buying them specifically to flip them for a profit, and this is keeping used car prices artificially high. But on the rare occasion when they come up on Bring a Trailer, you can typically get one for $20,000 under sticker. Now if you are going to buy a 911 GTS, my personal recommendation would be a 991.1 GTS. This car is, in my opinion, much nicer looking than the 997 series GTS, and it was the last naturally aspirated 911 GTS made. And if you don't mind a little mileage, you can find one for under $90,000, which yes, is a lot of money, but when you consider that when these were new, they typically sold for $125,000 to $145,000. And they most likely won't be seeing any more depreciation, which means if and when you sell it, you'll get the vast majority, if not all of your money back. And that's a pretty great deal. We should be seeing the reveal of the 992.2 GTS in just a few months, but it's too soon to say if this will have any effect on the used GTS market. But as it stands for now, the first 3 generations of the 911 GTS have been dropping in value for the past few years, and prices are currently at an all-time low. So if you're in the market, now is a good time to pull the trigger. Thanks for checking out this video, and don't forget to check out my Porsche art prints, which are linked in the description below. And for more Porsche content that you cannot find anywhere else, click here to subscribe.